What's going on, Steelers Nation? Big film room episode today, taking an extensive look at the Steelers' impressive defensive performance against the Commanders. We're going to look at this from all different phases, talk schematic adjustments, highlight specific player performances, good, bad, everything in between. Just before we get started, please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment, just a free, easy way to support the channel. And if you're a film addict like myself, hop on over to the membership side where I'll be doing a really similar film room just on the offensive side of the ball, hopefully within the next 24 hours or so. So without further ado, let's ride. So was pretty impressed with the Steelers' performance when viewing live. I liked some of the adjustments that they made from a game plan perspective as well. One of those adjustments coming into the week was playing Elandon Roberts a little bit more instead of Peyton Wilson, which I thought was really to counter some of the good things that Washington had done in the run game. Roberts, I think, saw a season high in snaps. They ended up using him more, especially like at 11 personnel, even on early downs and things like that, just to kind of counter all the different run schemes that Washington was running. And I thought that the results were pretty good. They were pretty efficient in terms of like holding some of them to shorter runs. And then on third down, I thought that the Steelers did some really nice things in terms of just changing up the way that they've been playing. This was a very Ravens-esque game plan, a lot more man coverage, a lot more blitzing. But these like small tweaks to the game plan or to the scheme really made a big difference. You'll see the Steelers are presenting like a double A-gap mug presentation, playing man coverage on the back end. Now, what's important here is they wanted to get into five-man protections early in the game, and the Steelers did a good job kind of manipulating some pressure and getting some unblocked rushers out of that, because what this means is like because they only have five guys in protection and trying to get five guys out, they're going to full slide this thing to the right. What they don't have Alex Highsmith accounted for in the protection. It forces Jayden Daniels to, just rush the throw a little bit, throws off target. It's a huge, 3 and out to begin the game. And I talked about like highlighting specific player performances too in this one. I thought Patrick Queen was phenomenal. I thought he had his best game of the season. Washington does a lot of gap scheme runs. They have a huge like Rolodex of different things that they like to do to you. Here's like one of the things that they put on film, but it's actually like a little bit of a counter on some of their tendencies. So they're running a little bit of a tackle over play here. So they've got their left tackle aligned on the right side of the formation, and then they've got their tight end basically aligned as a left tackle. They're going to be running kind of GY counter for this, but Queen reads this so quickly and does a good job knifing into the backfield before the second puller can even get into his vicinity, if you will. And I thought that the rush in general, this game plan, especially on third downs, being more aggressive up front, trying to send some blitzers, like right here, using Patrick Queen as a blitzer. That's something that I talked a lot about in the offseason. We haven't seen it very much, but I was happy to see a little bit of it in this game. But right here, just, rushing five guys, trying to make sure that you have good rush lane integrity as well, because of what Daniels can do as a scrambler. And, of course, it really helps like when you've got guys winning your one-on-ones especially. But I thought Cam Hayward was phenomenal. Alex Highsmith had several wins around the edge as well that, forced Daniels up into the pocket. And they just did a really good job compressing space. Daniels didn't have, I don't think, a single scramble yard in this game. And, one of the stats I brought up in the preview was that, he was leading the NFL and with 327, I think, scramble yards coming into the week. And they just did a really good job compressing the pocket, making sure that he didn't have those easy escape routes that he likes to go to. And another thing, just kind of rewinding this back, because you can see Daniel's eyes working down to the bottom of the screen. I know there's a lot of discourse about Joey Porter Jr., and Porter did not have a good game overall, but this was like one of the good reps that he had. He had several good reps in this game as well, just doing a good job, disrupting the timing of the concept. You can see Daniels, once he hits his back foot, he's looking at the bottom of the screen. But because Porter's able to get contact and kind of force McLaurin to kind of slow his release a little bit, that's, helps, the pass rush get home. And it's just a good example of, the pass rush and the coverage working really well together. There's not really a good place for Daniels to go with the ball right here. You will see a crosser kind of coming over late against Beanie Bishop. But by that time, Daniels is forced off his first read, and they've compressed the pocket to the point where, there's nowhere for him to go, and he ends up getting taken down. So pass rush did some good things in this one. They had some guys win their individual matchups, which is always nice. Again, just a couple more plays here from Patrick Queen that I wanted to highlight. I think that you saw, the reason coming into this game, I said that this was the game that you go out and you sign a Patrick Queen for. I thought back to like what he could do for them when you go up against these mobile quarterbacks and, teams that like to do a good job creating space on offense. A lot of the things that Washington does is, they just do a good job, getting to their perimeter runs. Right here, they're just running a little pin and pull to the right side, and you can see Queen, just like his ability, his range really stands out on film. And, he made a number of stops in this game, and this was honestly like the most impressive play that I think I saw him make in this one. It doesn't look like much to the naked eye, but having like really studied Daniels leading up to this game and his ability as a runner, especially when you got this +1 advantage, these types of looks are really difficult to defend for a defense. But you can kind of watch Queen right here. He's basically assigned to this A gap, and when Daniels pulls it, he's able to kind of get outside and break contain a little bit. But the fact that Queen is able to, basically beat him to the sideline was super impressive and hold this to like a 3 or 4 yard gain or something like that. There's just very few off-ball linebackers in the NFL that can make that type of play. On film, Daniels has been running away from guys all season long. And, I think, again, it was really unfortunate that Alex Highsmith got hurt in this one because I thought he did some really nice things, particularly rushing the passer. Brandon Coleman, a rookie offensive tackle, really struggled with his speed. He was getting off the ball quickly. Unfortunately, this one gets negated because there's a penalty up at the top of the screen with Porter. I think they got him for like hands to the face or holding off the line of scrimmage. But, it doesn't take away from some of the things that we saw Highsmith do. Unfortunately, he was on crutches after the game and sounds like he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Hopefully he gets back soon. But this is a beautiful, again, get off, just rolling off his front foot and making sure that, a little ghost move right here, flash the long arm, dip, rip. And again, really nice job bringing Daniels down, make sure he doesn't escape the pocket. Some of the things that I thought the Steelers just struggled with was mostly just in the secondary. Like I said, Porter had some good reps in this game, and probably more than you would expect after you watch the broadcast view. But I thought his technique was really, really sloppy overall. Just a lot of grabbiness at the line of scrimmage, whether it was just like hugging receivers, getting his hands up too high, not trusting his technique, not trusting his footwork. I thought the PI that he got down the right sideline was a little bit ticky-tack when I watched it back, just because I thought Brown kind of pinned his arm and did a good job selling it. But the other two penalties that he had in this game were really just like inexcusable from a player like that talented. Again, just not trusting his technique. And because the Steelers, they blitzed over, this was a season high in terms of like blitz rate and man coverage rate for them. And I think we're going to see a very similar game plan against the Baltimore Ravens next weekend. But I thought that overall, like the coverage in the secondary didn't really hold up extremely well. So right here, this is just a 3rd and 9 play in the low red zone. And something on film, as you can imagine, Daniels loves the target. Scary Terry in the red zone, like it was all on film. As soon as they hit the 20s, it was like every single ball was going to in his direction. But right here, like Dante Jackson's at the bottom of the screen. He's playing off coverage, which is really better suited for his skill set. But you can see just like the hesitancy to drive on this throw underneath. Like it's okay to play off coverage, especially because he's not like a guy that you really want to impress a lot on the back end. But you got to drive on those throws with more urgency. If you get the ball out quickly like this, Daniels did a good job throughout the game, like in terms of like just hitting his back foot, getting the ball out. His time to throw was like 2.5 seconds. It's going to be difficult to get a pass rush on somebody like that. But I just thought that there were definitely some struggles from a coverage aspect on the back end that were, they caught some breaks with some drops, some errant throws. The pass rush, I felt like obviously lifted them up in certain situations. Right here, I thought that the Steelers did a really good job. I thought that they were really prepared for a lot of the what I call like easy buttons on the Commanders' offense. People call it like high school-ish, college-ish offense, whatever have you. But one of the things they like to do is, spread the field out right here. So they get into empty. You can see like just how light of a box this is, right? So like there's no linebackers even in the picture. So basically this is just kind of an SRO. So Daniels has the opportunity to either fake the screen or take the screen down to the left, or he can use it as like an opportunity to take a draw. But Benton did a really nice job, recognizing that and making a tackle, not letting him get into the open field. And again, this is just another example right here, I think, of being more aggressive up front and them doing some different things that we really haven't seen them do a lot of this season. Again, using Patrick Queen as a blitzer, being a little less predictable, a little less static with how they're trying to rush the passer. And again, we get a check down on 3rd and long. Those are always good things. You come up, you make the tackle. Minkah playing from depth. I thought he had a strong game. made a couple key tackles in space, especially on third down to, prevent first down. So right here, you can kind of see Queens lined up in the A gap. They're actually going to run a three-man weave. So they're going to have Queen come off. This is something he did really well in Baltimore. He's going to basically pick the left guard, and then they're going to try to get Cam Hayward on a stunt. And, like, one of these things that the stunts do really well, too, is, like, sometimes it can make the quarterback it can give the illusion that there's a lane to step up into. Like right here, you can see that Daniels, if he wanted to take off, like he could probably look and say like, oh, I can beat this guy to the spot, whatever. But they do have a looper coming over here. So again, just good rush lane integrity and being a little bit more creative up front in terms of like trying to get their pass rush going, especially because like the edge rushers, like once I feel like Cliff Kingsbury and company kind of figured this out, they weren't really able to hold up one-on-one, and they started using more like 6-7 man protections with some chips and things like that. So it was cool to see them kind of adjust mid-game and start to go to some different things in terms of blitzing more and all that. So it was nice. This was really the play of the game to me. I said this in the recap that I thought that this is the last play of the third quarter. This is second, I think, in 4. But Hayward's just burst off the ball. For my money, like I said this earlier in the week, I think that he's probably been the Steelers' best player this season in totality, which is pretty absurd considering all the different players that they've got on this defense. TJ Watt, I just think Hayward's playing at an incredible level, to be honest with you. Another thing that the Commanders like to do with all the gap scheme stuff, they're trying to give the impression of a gap run right here by pulling the left guard in working a play action pass off of that. That's going to be a really difficult block for the center. They're asking him to kind of come down and pin, a 3 technique, but Hayward's burst off the ball on this play. Just very unusual, I would say, for a guy his age, and he continues to look spry. He defeat the odds of Father Time, man. And this was something too, like I didn't look up the stats, but I think that Daniels and company had, I think, 4 or 5 screens on the day, none of which were successful. Coming into the week, they were top 5 in screen usage rate, and they were also like top 10 in success rate on screens. Just again, referencing like the term easy button, like these were some of the easy buttons that were all on film. Just really good awareness right here. They motion into a quads formation, which is always, a high alert type of situation. Receiver here looks like he's trying to attempt a throwback. What I want you to pay attention to is just like Alex Highsmith's awareness up at the top of the screen. He can definitely tell it's a screen because the tackle basically doesn't attempt to block him. But then he like hustles back because he's, anticipating the throwback. And I also think that Preston Smith right here just does a good job, making an open field tackle in space right here. But overall, I mean, this was a 3rd and long situation. They tried to get really tricky. Again, it just shows the preparation level of this defense, that they were really prepared for a lot of the things that were, going to come their way. And one of the things that I like just in terms of like more schematic tweaks or something that I really liked seeing was they moved Watt, Highsmith around the formation a little bit. They got into some 3 edge rusher sets, which is going to be something I'm looking forward to seeing more of, especially as guys continue to get healthy. Of course, Highsmith's going to be out for a couple weeks, but they get Nick Herbig back right here. They're working Preston Smith as the wide 9. They're actually going to shift Cam Hayward to a wide 9 and work Highsmith and Watt over the guards. And there's a little bit of a confusion right here in terms of like on the right side of the screen in terms of working this stunt, but I just like the creativity because, again, if teams are going to get really predictable in how they're going to attack the Steelers edge rushers, you can see the 2 chippers leaving those guys in. If they want to leave, 7 guys in protection for 4 pass rushers, I mean, there's not really a ton that you're going to be able to do from a pass rush standpoint, but it does give you an advantage on the back end. I just like to see, Terrell Austin and company try to at least, pull some more levers to get those guys some more advantageous opportunities, be a little less predictable on the defensive side of the ball than what they have been over the course of the first half of the season or whatever. And I thought it really led to some good results for them overall. And this is another play that Benton made, actually, just doing a really good job. You can see Washington, again, just trying to be real spread happy. They're working into a light box. So this is a 6-man box. And you've got 6 rushers because this is the +1 effect with the quarterback. They're going to be running a little quarterback draw right here. So they've got 6 blockers for 6 defenders. But this is an excellent job. Benton really coming off hard. This is a really good player, this right guard, Sam Cosmi. You can see like him generate a little bit of knockback with that long arm and does a really nice job peeking back inside, because if he doesn't right here, you can kind of see the rushing lane right here. It's basically going to be a foot race between him and Patrick Queen, basically to the corner right there in open space. And it's going to be really difficult to make that tackle once he gets rolling. But that's just a really nice play from Keanu Benton. And then, this was, I think, the last play of the game. There's a couple more that I want to touch on just as we, get to, Ravens week. Last play of the game right here. It's a little empty. Again, you're getting double chips on both of the edge rushers. I thought that this was a veteran mistake kind of by Zach Ertz, but I also wanted to highlight, by not getting to the sticks, but I also wanted to highlight just how quickly Minkah closes on this. They're playing cover 3, and he's the hook curl player to the bottom of the screen. But just watch how quickly he breaks on this almost before Daniels even lets the ball go. And the reason why that's important is because, you can see just how close it was. A lot of debate on the spot. I think the original spot was obviously wrong. It was really close to a first down. But it's just one of those things where, I think that, Minkah, the splash plays and things like that haven't really necessarily showed up. But there's been a lot of times like this where, third down, he's made a key stop, a key tackle in space, to get the defense off the field. And, those may not show up in the box score as turnovers or whatever, but, that's essentially what it is. It closed the game out for them. And one of the things I wanted to talk about just as it relates to Ravens week, and, this is a touchy subject for sometimes for people, but I think that you have to acknowledge some of the struggles that they had on the back end. We already talked about some of the stuff with Dante Jackson, Joey Porter, 5 penalties between those two. Not really going to talk too much about James Pierre just because, it's James Pierre. He's out there really only due to injuries. What I am kind of concerned about is, over the course of the game in nickel, they decided they were going to play Cam Sutton, get into man coverage, and Sutton really struggled overall in this one. You can see him working in the slot on this particular play. Just in terms of trying to stay sticky in man coverage, I think it's fair to acknowledge that, this is a guy that hasn't played football in a while, really since training camp, hasn't really seen live game action. But some of these reps that he lost weren't really particularly close. And I think that you can also acknowledge that the Steelers defense played extremely well. They were well prepared. They executed really well on the defensive side of the ball. But these are plays, I think, that are, you kind of caught a break on a little bit. Daniels has a relatively clean pocket in this one. This is a throw that he's made pretty much all season long. I think the wide receiver could probably make a little bit better of an effort here as well. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because the Ravens, in particular, Lamar Jackson, these deep crossers and these intermediate routes working over the middle of the field, this is kind of his bread and butter. And Tomlin said in his press conference that he wants Cam Sutton, he played Cam Sutton on some of these quote-unquote weighty downs. He wants to get him more involved. I'm just concerned about what the film looks like. These are only a couple of the examples, but there were at least 2 or 3 more examples where guys were just running away from him. And it's one thing, cornerbacks, you're going to lose reps, especially if you're going to play man coverage. But to me personally, these reps weren't particularly close, and it's kind of unusual to see a player lose by 4, 5, 6 yards on multiple runaway opportunities in the NFL. You just don't see it a lot. So it kind of has me wondering about is this? I think this is going to be a similar game plan next week against the Ravens, but it just has me wondering a little bit about his usage and what it's going to look like. They did some things in terms of rotating him around to the deep portions of the field. I think he can still be a good zone defender. Athletically, to me, this wasn't a good showing for me. So maybe it's shaking the rust off. We'll see what it looks like. But the film, obviously is the film. Also want to point out, we got to get the refs some LASIK, man. This is a hold on number 90 down here at the bottom of the screen. This is not even a difficult call. I don't complain about the refs. The refs didn't win the Steelers the game. They haven't lost the Steelers a game all season long. But this is a hold, man. We got to start calling this stuff. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys tuning in to the video. As always, really appreciative of the support. Just on your way out, if you stuck with me through the end, please make sure, again, just subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comments. If you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, again, just make sure you hit that bell on your way out. I really appreciate it. As always, peace and love.